Welcome back for another episode of Pixels to Politics. I'm Blackheart, and I'm joined by my co-hosts Dougie and Bray. Tonight, we're diving deep into the evolving gaming culture and the explosive growth of esports. With our guests Rose and Vin, who have extensive experience in the gaming scene, we'll explore the transformation of gaming platforms, the rise of online multiplayer and streaming, the increased diversity in gaming, and we'll also delve into the history of esports to include major titles, the life of pro gamers, and the economic impact of this industry. Join us for an insightful conversation on the challenges and future trends in esports. All right, how's everyone doing tonight?
Excellent.
I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah, Rose Vince, good to have you back. Long time no see, or long time no talk, maybe.
Yeah, it's nice being back. I'm excited.
Awesome. All right, cool. All right, Dougie, where would you like to start this conversation? We have a lot of subtopics that we can cover with this. This is one of my perhaps passions, rather. So I'm kind of cool to start wherever. But where do you think's a good
Well,
place?
I feel like it's all of our passions, um, but it
I'm way more
also
passionate than you.
is
Just
most
stop.
of the world's passion. Oh,
Oh
all right,
man.
my bad, dude. Sorry.
Most of the world.
Um, but I mean, a good most of the world plays games. Most of the world. Well, I
That's
think it's 5.5 billion people um are actively gaming on some platform. So it's you know become quite the topic worldwide.
for sure.
Are you okay? Do you disagree? What's with all the faces you're making? What is going on there?
I I mean it's like I feel like people in India probably don't play games as much.
Oh, they do, brother.
Well, phone games. If you count phone
Okay, all
games,
right. I
yeah,
guess if
like
we're
most of
counting
the
mobile,
world
if we count
are
Yeah,
like all
actively gaming.
games, then it's different. I thought we were just
mobile
mainly referring
games
to
is like
PC.
super common in India.
Yeah,
That's how they
no. I
make
thought
the
we were just
majority
mainly
of their
Yeah.
referring to
money.
PC games, not to all games.
No,
You know.
no.
You're not wrong about that then, yeah. There's most people do play games even, on any
Hmm.
platform.
Yep. And I'd love to start with first for us three, the kind of older ones, and then jump down to our guests in here. But I'd love to hear your first gaming console and your first video game. Um, because I know for me, it's like stuck in my brain. The first time I picked up a video game, I played the shit out of it for hours. Um,
I know what you mean.
so yeah, yeah. Well, would you like to start, Braden?
Yeah, sure, I'll start. My first console, can it be handheld or does it matter?
Any game.
Any
Yes,
game?
your very first video game, whatever it was. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. It was a Game Boy. It was a purple Game Boy Advance. This was back in the early days, and it was even back then. It was pretty expensive. I think it was like a couple $100 at the time that my grandfather got it for me. And the game I had for it at the very start, I believe, was a Timmy Turner game. It was Fairly Odd Parents or whatever. Basic 2D platformer, nothing crazy. You'd go in, you'd be Timmy Turner. You'd have like your lives and whatnot. Um, you'd have your like fairy spells and whatnot, and you'd kind of just go through. It was pretty basic, platformer game, but I still remember it. It was a lot of fun. I played it when I went to the dentist, especially just because it reduced my anxiety while I was waiting for the dentistry. Then after that was kind of came Mario Kart and then a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle game. Those are the ones I remember the most for the Game Boy. I actually didn't play Pokemon until Emerald for whatever reason. I guess my mother thought Emerald or Pokemon was a spawn of Satan or something. She was very religious, so I never got to play Pokemon until I was older.
Robbed you. You got
Yeah,
robbed.
yeah. Also made me throw out my Pokemon cards too, because he thought it was part of Satan's plan.
Oh.
Yeah,
I've heard that story so many times.
yeah. And I look back and like I could have sold those cards. Would be nice to still have them, but is what it is. What about anyone else here to get away from the talk of the devil invading my Pokemon cards?
I think one of the earliest baby photos that my parents have of me is me like sitting in my mom's lap playing Mario Kart with them. or like they're trying to teach me how to play Mario Kart when I'm like still in diapers.
Yeah.
But I think maybe, and that was for the Super Nintendo. But I think maybe the first video game that I remember trying to play on my own, or the first one I bought with my own money, was Super Mario RPG for the Super Nintendo.
Really?
I got like birthday money from like my grandparents, and I was like 4 or 5 years old, and I went to the, Walmart or whatever in my town, and it was like in the case, and I was like, oh, I like Mario, I want that game,
Yeah.
and that was my first video game I ever played. I freaking love that game. I still play it.
Yeah, that's a banger game to pick up right from the get go. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, that was oof. Oh, I still love that game. All right. What about you, Dougie? What about you?
Um, Crash Bandicoot. I think on the PS2, maybe it was the PS1, at my godmother's house, and
Okay.
it was like I think it was one of the first times I'd gotten to stay at her house, and I just remember she was like, "Oh yeah, I've got this, the console here, and here's the game," and I just played the shit out of it, and she just made me cookies, and I just remember it being like the best day ever. Like this is the greatest thing I've ever experienced in my life. Just eating cookies and playing is
You can't beat it.
Crash Bandicoot, avoiding the barrels or whatever the fuck. I don't know if I did or not, but it was still a fuck ton of fun. So, but yeah, for me that's a permanent memory in my brain. That's not going anywhere.
No, I feel you. What
Yeah,
about
Rose, how about you?
Oh, similarly to Blackheart, I picked up games like when I was like 3, maybe 4 years old, and my dad had a GameCube and a PS2, and my very first game that I picked up was on his PS2, where I played Tomb Raider Legend, and
Mm.
it's kind of like honestly like a bit of a violent game to start off of looking back at it, but like I I don't know, like it was just I remember like the opening scene, like you're just like rock climbing in the mountains, and then you're just like taking out people with guns, and I guess like it was like the game shoots for you. You didn't really have to aim or anything, but like I remember that being the first game I played, and it was a ton of fun. Like it was probably like the concept of like boss fights, I guess, was like in that game, and that made me like want it in other games too. But yeah, Tomb Raider Legend was the very first game I played. Following that, it was like um, a couple of GameCube games like Smash Bros. Melee or Mario Party
Melee was such
5.
a good game.
Yeah, like
Still one of the
uh,
best fighting games of all time. Like 20 years later.
yeah, I had a lot of party games on my GameCube that I would play, and that was pretty big and influential in my life.
That's cool.
All right,
I remember
Vin,
Tomb
what
Raider
about you?
2 actually. That was definitely a banger one.
So, uh, my family immigrated to the U.S. when I was around 8. We didn't have so this is like 2008-ish. We didn't have a lot of money, so when it came to like Christmas stuff, they bought me a very cheap console. I think it was the Sega Master System. Like my dad literally got it for 15 bucks. And my first game ever was probably Alex the Kid. So it was like a knockoff of Super Mario, like Sega's version of that. Then I transitioned into the Sega Genesis, which was like a little bit better. And like the games that I remember was the Ooze and Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Like that's what got me super deep into gaming.
Yeah,
wow?
that's a
Fair.
classic right there.
Yeah,
That's
Alex
also
the Kid.
hype.
Who hasn't played that at least once?
That level was hard though, cause like some of the bugs that the developers did, it took me fucking hours to like do that.
Oh my god, that's terrible.
Yeah, dude, it was an 8-bit game, so like you guys know like the Super Mario Brothers 3 level days and like just the super terrible graphics.
Yeah.
Those are the days. Simpler times.
Oh my god, that's too funny.
Were you guys always heavy gamers, or was there a particular time period in which your amount of screen time kind of skyrocketed?
Um, I was always pretty much playing games, so I guess like a little bit of context. I am first generation, so like my mom moved here and like I guess birthed me here, and we have all our family back at Uruguay, right? So whenever she was working, she was like working like 2 or 3 jobs, and I would be like, we like lived in an efficiency, so it's like the homeowners of that building were kind of like the people who would like take care of me in the meantime. And usually, what I'd do is I'd just like sit in our room all day and I'll just play games and just not bother the people there. And I would just pretty much be playing all day long. I guess like normal kid things, I'd sleep at like 7 sharp, but like regardless, my days would be just like gaming all the time, and that was pretty much a lot. Like my first birthday present, I guess, from that family, which I guess like he is now my dad, but back then he wasn't, and he got me like a DS, and that also just like caused me to continue playing nonstop every day. Like a DS, I got like Super Mario 64, I got Mario Kart, I got like Yoshi's Island. It was great,
Awesome.
nonstop.
Okay,
And,
so always a gamer.
side note, the Mario Karts for the Nintendo DS, like the multiplayer was one of the most goated multiplayer services of
Yes,
ever. Like
yes.
no other multiplayer service even today can match how great of like a multiplayer game that was. Like so I could my family couldn't afford a DS, but I would get like whenever we went to church, I would just borrow like the rich kids from church's DSs and I would just smack them all in Mario Kart. Those are the days.
Yeah.
Like that whoever designed that, the goat man.
Now, I have kind of like a similar question to the first one, but I'm actually curious. So, we obviously just gave like our first video games ever, but what would you consider your first competitive video game? Like, not just like, oh, I played this against my friends and beat them because they all suck, but like, what was like the first game that you like really devoted yourself at with the intention of stomping other people, either for glory or for money?
Me, pick
Go
me.
ahead, Dougie.
Yeah. Wow. I
Please,
wonder what
go
it is.
ahead. It's probably Hello Kitty Island.
So yes, I fuck with that game. What the hell? How'd you know?
It's Toontown. I
No,
knew it was
in middle
Toontown.
school, we had this computer class. I don't even remember what the hell we did. I think it was like the Microsoft, typing, blah 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 blah. Learn how to use Microsoft. But nobody actually did work in that class. Like it was complete nonsense. And somebody in the class brought in, or he found out about this game called Armageddon. And if you ever seen the Tron movies, you know the light racing. I'm sure everyone's seen what it looks like now, the like light cycle uh games. But this one took place online, um, and he figured out how to get it onto the servers at the school. So the whole time in the class, the whole class was just playing uh the light cycle Tron game, and it was so fucking fun. Anyways, so I took that home and I found other servers where there were like fucking grown ass men, like 30-plus-year-old people playing this game. And you could mod the game so that you could create like objectives, and one of them was like capture the flag, right? Um, anyways, that I ended up joining a team on there, and I just had so much fucking fun. Most of the people didn't like me because I was just a little squeaker and I was
Yeah.
not good at the game. Um, but I didn't give a fuck, dude. I was having so much fun. I did not care. That was so fun, and that was my first like competitive gaming experience. It was such a blast. I fucking missed that shit.
Yeah.
Sorry. Next.
No, that's hype. I think, I guess my first competitive game that I actually like grinded, I guess like in my case it was like a ranked ladder. It was gonna be so cringe to say out loud, but it was actually so fun. It was ranked Wizard 101, and it was like maybe 6th grade, um,
Hell yeah.
where I was like constantly grinding that. I would like play like, oh my god, it was maybe like the second I got out of school, I was like playing until like probably like 1 a.m. in middle school. Like it was bad. Like
Yeah.
I was just like constantly on that, and I was like consuming a lot of content for like what strategies people would do and then try to beat it. And then I was like a little cringer. And my way of going about it was I had a bunch of gear that just gave me damage reduction. So I'd stack like as many damage reduction like multipliers as I could. So I had like innately 71% damage reduction. And then I was also like a life mage. So I'd just be a healer. And what I'd do is I'd just out heal and block all incoming damage until the enemy ran out of cards. And then when they ran out of cards, I won the fight. And that's how I climbed to like rank 48. And that felt so fulfilling back then, but like that definitely wasn't enough. As in the end, I played League of Legends, but
Yeah.
that was, I think, my first experience with like a ranked ladder and competition. I guess.
Yeah,
Wow.
my friend from
You're toxic.
high school also mained Wizard 101 starting from like 6th grade up till like he finished college, and then he quit because he finally got a job, but
Yeah.
he would make top 10 like every year. I have no idea what the game is, but he would just like complain every time.
Yeah, that shit was fun, and yeah, what I was doing was definitely toxic. I think that was my first exposure to like toxicity. Like, I guess like people like actually flaming me. Like, I was like a 12-year-old kid at the time. I didn't like know anything, but like people people were rude. When they saw us stalling them out for like 15 minutes, they they did not like it. And I remember there was this one time there was such a like experience shock. Like I never knew that streaming was a thing. And I had run into a streamer, and it was this like streamer for Wizard 101 named Heather the Wizard. And that was the first time I've ever seen so many people surrounding an arena, like watching a match, because people wanted to see the live stream and be there, I guess. And seeing so many people talk shit at the same time was also so jarring. I think I didn't touch ranked for like a good 2 or 3 days after that. I was so terrified. But yeah, that was crazy.
Pretty funny.
Yeah.
Vin, what about you?
Uh, I have I have quite a story. So this was like 2009. We were in the U.S. after a year, and we decided to vacation and go back to like to a different country. I was in South Korea. I was introduced to this wonderful game called Defense of the Ancients, which was good old Warcraft 3. So first one of the first ever MOBAs essentially that came out, I was already on it. I think I played to like because this was like closed lobbies and stuff. I played a shit ton of that, like 300, 400 hours competitively. Because you had to give it like a really good certain matchmaking rating to get into the like the good player lobbies. So that shit was a different story. Then later transition, I think '09 to like 010-ish. Like this is when League came out, first beta. I didn't play it competitively, but I started playing League a little bit. But I was focused on StarCraft, like Brood Wars that year. This is like when StarCraft was huge back in the heyday, but it eventually ends up like slowly dying out. I think my biggest memory was getting like top 1000 because I got really obsessed with StarCraft. Like you can imagine like an 8 9 year old kid just completely fucking sitting on like a Windows 7 crap top trying to get into high rank in like a video game. Those are good memories. That was before I switched to League, and like it just became my entire like lifeline because that my
Yeah.
friends started calling me shit at League because I didn't play the game. I didn't know the builds and stuff, and I would just stack whatever was HP, and I was like, oh, full HP something, you know. That was the mindset because it was from my fucking MMORPG days.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's so hype though.
Yeah, it is pretty
League was my first MOBA, so it was my first
I,
introduction
I
to
I
that.
played pre-league, so like pre-league competitive, like any of those MOBAs were super toxic because like it was basically just free speech and chat. That's actually another topic I do want to get at some point with the direction of gaming. But during that essentially that entire process, I would get called so many different racial slurs on the Korean server and the US servers when I was playing like Dota, like just OG Defense of the Engine, because I was playing the equivalent like a very disgusting like rat bastard style play like hero. It was Murloc, and nobody liked that.
Yeah, I wouldn't like you either, to be honest.
There seems to be a consistent theme here.
Yeah. Yeah, I played a little bit of Dota back in the day. I didn't play it competitively, but I did play a little bit of it.
Well, what's wrong with being a Murloc player, bro?
It's disgusting.
Bray, what about you?
I
about
gotta know
me?
what's wrong with being a Murloc player.
Oh no, sorry, I lagged for a second. But yeah, no, being a Murloc player is it's just gross. Murlocs themselves, even in the MMORPG, are disgusting, and it's not any different in Dota.
Yeah.
But for me, it was, well, like I started playing, like I was the normie, the normalton back then, the zoomer of the time, the early 2000s zoomer playing Call of Duty. That was my first taste of really a competitive game. Wasn't until like sophomore year of high school, or when I was like 13, 14, I started playing League, and everything kind of just went straight downhill from there. Everything after that was just kind of terrible. Everyone was playing it. The dog was playing it. The cat was playing it. The bird in the cage was playing it. Everyone was playing League, and people are still playing League, and I don't know why. I think people hate themselves, but for me, yeah.
Is it just time sunk cost fallacy? Like, because for most people, they're trying to make a career or something out of it. Like, they've already gone that far, and at least that's like what I've seen from other people once they get into high MMR. Because eventually, like, you can't stop playing the game because it just keeps on getting you back. It's the addiction to gambling. The plus 17 LP, man.
Yeah.
It always gets you back.
I think it's more like this. Like you keep stabbing yourself a bunch of time with knives, and then you're like, well, I've already stabbed 7 knives into me. What's another 8 knives? The eighth one is really what's gonna make it better. I can use the
Tell
eight.
me about it.
Yeah, maybe the 8th knife didn't work. Maybe if I stick the 9th knife, I can use it to pry out the other 8 knives. And then it's like, oh no, the 9th knife got stuck. That's kind of how League is.
I'm not dying yet. Time
I'm
to
not-
stick another knife in.
Yeah, I'm not dead yet. I can still keep going. One more game. We can't end on a loss, boys. Again.
That's one hell of an analogy.
Am I wrong? I don't think I'm wrong.
I don't know. I don't know if it's quite like that, but I can also understand why you feel that way.
Yeah. I've played enough ranked games to know why people need therapy. It's kind of
Dude, that's only in NA. Depends on the region. EU is a bit different. Same thing with like Korea and China, because it's also like people in Korea and China know like they actually have a chance to make a career out of it. So everyone wants to win. North America, like you have streamer culture just ruining half the games. The other half is just not a fun experience.
That's true.
I never got to experience different cultures in League, so I've just got a name.
Yeah, you're not missing out on much, to be honest. It's like, and in EU, it's actually almost kind of worse because in EU.
Well, you have the Turks, man. Like the Turks, it sounds super racist, but the Turks and the fucking people from the meta regions.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever heard of like Middle Eastern Dravens? They're all mentally ill.
Yes.
It's just it's specific people from those regions, like the Balkan regions, like the lower tier regions, all make the game quality worse for everybody because there's a high chance they're on 120 ping, they're super huge ego, and they're like delusional, and then they just ruin your game because they don't give a shit.
Yep.
Half of them have
Okay,
like
can I tell?
Habibi come to Dubai money.
Yeah, Dubai money.
I
Sure.
want to double down on this. I want to double down on the racism here because I swear to God, I feel the same way about how many fucking Asians and Europeans are playing in the American server from not on this continent, dude. They
Oh,
do the
dude.
exact same thing. They play on the server at like
Yes.
120 ping. They run it down and then they go, "Oh my God, NA suck region, can't fix." And it's just like, dude, What in the fuck is going on, dude?
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, no.
What is
Okay,
happening?
D3 to 500 LP Grandmaster NA is one of the worst experiences because 12 p.m. in the morning or like 12 p.m. at night, you get the Chinese Elo boosters, and you don't know if the Chinese Elo boosters are actually living in NA as transfer students or they're they're playing at 120 ping themselves, and then they run you down and then they just say NA bad region, and it's the most god awful experience. Like I see anybody with a Chinese IGN, I just insta run them down nowadays. I don't give a fuck anymore. They're all just dogs.
Yep. Agree 100%.
Like
Yep. You're in
all
our
my
region
duos
now.
with the game. So like playing like against like playing solo at like midnight is one of those most miserable fucking experiences because you're just sitting
Oh
there.
yeah. Oh yeah.
My account only has support champs, so I have to play fucking support, and I'm just watching either the Chinese ADC who's super ego, super handless, or the fucking Chinese top laner that's gonna go 3 and 13 and be like NA top gap or some shit. He actually thinks he's the shy. For those who
Oh
are
yeah.
listening, like the Shy
Oh
is a pro player that's known to fucking run it down as part of his legacy. Like the guy is either the Chinese player on like the Chinese player on the enemy team is 10-0. Like we're playing against fucking like LPL top laner, and then the Chinese player on my team is 3 and 13 playing Garen, having fun at midnight.
Yeah.
Because odds are he's probably jobless.
Yeah. Yeah. Like Tyler won. Let me
Well,
take it.
Tyler's
Ryan, I
actually
know we
good.
skipped you.
Yeah,
Half
he's
the time he creeps.
yeah. Half the time he does grief though, but that's okay because he makes up
We
for it.
skipped. We skipped poor Ryan when it comes to competitive. His first competitive game. Which one is? What is yours?
I've never been competitive. I've never tried hard in a game I've ever played in my life.
True.
Just kidding.
True.
The
Not even
first game-
Masters.
yeah, he.
Wait.
No, my first competitive game was Melee, actually.
Really? Oh, that's actually kind of
Oh.
weak.
Yeah,
I thought it
we
was
used
gonna
to
be something
hold-
more interesting.
No, we used to hold Melee tournaments at my high school in the senior lounge on like early outs or like the last Friday of every month. So I used to play in those.
That's fair.
That's so
You ever win?
hype.
Yeah, I've won a few.
That is
yeah.
hype.
I used to be
Nice.
I used to play like Marth and Jigglypuff were my two main ones, and then if I wanted to fuck around, I'd play Link.
Okay, you're gross.
Nice.
That is disgusting.
Yeah, well, all right.
Oh, wow.
Thanks.
That's
Thanks,
like the
Liz.
top of.
Dude,
Like,
at least he's
what?
not a Sonic main. Those are the worst.
Well, I
Yeah,
played
yeah.
Melee. Sonic
fucking
wasn't in
Sonic,
Melee,
yeah.
so
Yeah, I mean, if you
Is-
weren't playing Pikachu, you just didn't have culture. If we're being honest here.
I like playing Pichu. So
Oh
It could
God.
be a Jigglypuff abuser also.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. No.
I did abuse the shit out of Jigglypuff. There were a lot of Fox and Falco players at my school, and Jigglypuff was good into them at the time. So
But if you're on the
'Cause,
second floor, you have to toss out the. You just have to straight up toss out the Kirby mains. Just toss them. Just no hesitation. Just
yeah,
get rid of them.
agreed. Yeah,
Was Zelda in Melee?
yeah.
Yeah.
Zelda and
Yep.
Sheik. Yeah.
She was always fun to watch. It's because my friend he plays Smash competitively around the California circuit, and what do you call it? He's one of the best Zeldas in North America in general. Like it's super fun watching Zelda play.
Yeah, I like watching Zeldas. I think Zelda is excellent, and it's not overpowered either.
One of the things I wanted to talk about is the public perception of gamers, um, and how it's changed over time. Because I don't think, at least for me, I did not experience when I was younger such an openness towards video games, and nobody really predicted. I think the the evolution of it and how prevalent it is in our culture. It was kind of seen as, like a bad thing that kids were doing. And I just remember that being the public perception. And I also remember, like, even in school, you would probably get bullied if you were a hardcore gamer. Like, if you spent all day inside playing video games, you were probably going to get bullied. Maybe even more than some of the other groups.
Oh yeah.
Did you guys experience that too, or was it just me?
Oh no, like
I did. Man.
I did
most of us
not.
did. I think it's the changes over the years. Because if you look at like the 2000 like pre crash America, like pre 2008, um You were bullied. You were more likely to get bullied for being a gamer because like that's where the fucking like the stereotype like the sweaty redditor comes from. Like a gamer would just never leave his house. But like once I think over the decades, I mean, let's be real, it's more dangerous to spend your time outside than inside. Like even during COVID and like that transition, right? So you guys could see over the years because of like the dangers of just being outside, you were like you're more likely to be inside and just play games, and like it's become less of like a stereotype where it's like a negative. It's just become more positive.
That's fair.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that.
I actually did not experience any bullying though. For me, like middle school, like everyone was playing games. Everyone had like a DS, and everyone was just kind of just doing their own thing with games. Everyone had one. It wasn't really something where I was like, oh well, um, so and so has this or so and so has that. It was more of everyone played games, and it was pretty common.
Yeah, elementary and middle school were exactly like that for me. Entering high school though, so like entering 8th grade before I went into high school, that's when I first picked up League. It was like Christmas 2015,
Yeah.
and um, entering like 9th grade, it was my first time in high school. It was my first time actually just throughout all of my elementary to middle school, like grade 1 to 8. I had just been going to a private school. It was like a very small private school, like 5 classrooms maximum, one building.
Wow.
Everyone knew each other. It was like 80 students in the entire school. And going to high school, going to like a high school, was like very drastic change. It was like a public school, thousands of students all of a sudden, like very drastic change. And I was like pretty unaware, I guess, of a lot of social cues. And like it was my first time actually being able to go to school, and I wasn't like forced to wear a uniform. Like wearing a uniform was normal, and this is relevant because I just showed up with a League of Legends hoodie one day, and I didn't notice how many people would take offense to that. Like I don't know, I got so many insults that day. I had people like calling me a nerd, I guess, and I guess that was supposed to be a bad thing back then. But like, I had people picking on me,
I,
and it was like,
I mean, to be fair, if I wore a League of Legends out hoodie outside and people didn't bully me, I'd be surprised. I would bully someone if they were wearing a League of Legends hoodie as well, even today.
I mean, like, I don't know. Like, I thought it was cool back then. Like, just like wearing like merch for like the game you
I-
like. I don't know.
Looking back on it, those kids were probably trying to help you. They're probably trying to get you to stop playing the game.
Nah, low
Honestly,
key,
fucking true.
low key, they sold themselves out. Like, they were definitely in the same position I was. They just were embarrassed.
Oh,
Oh
true.
no, if you're wearing a red League of Legends hoodie, it's kind of a red flag to never date. Like if I'm seeing a chick do that, like nah, I'm not doing
Oh,
that. If I was a girl and I saw a guy and like he said he played League of Legends, I wouldn't date him either.
Same,
It's
absolutely.
like it's just like League players are fucking toxic. And
Yeah.
like not healthy toxic. It's like just terrible people.
Yeah, like I hope you die. I hope your family, drowns in a fire. I hope your fire takes over your pool after that, and the pool disappears, and you have to pay repair costs on it for the rest of your life, type of
No,
deal.
if you get to a certain point, like let's say you're playing in diamond lobbies,
Yeah.
yeah, like that, then you have the rights to be a fucking sweaty dickhead. But like every league player, it just trickles down in terms of like same mindset. Toxic. They expect everyone who doesn't play the game to like know every little thing.
Yeah,
That's terrible.
yeah, it's absolutely awful. I agree, and it's never going to change. It will always be that way.
Only thing worse than a league player is just a Valorant player. Fucking
Exactly.
e-girl central, man.
Oh
oh
God.
my god.
This is the only time you go to play Valorant.
Don't even get me started on, dude. I can't
I do
handle
find
it.
I do find Valorant to be more toxic. It's like it's almost like I've re-entered high school actually when I play Valorant.
Yes.
Valorant is for those
Yeah.
who don't know, Valorant is an FPS shooter made by the same company that makes League. Riot makes League of Legends and Valorant. Valorant came much later, and it's a shooter game slash I don't know if you ever play Overwatch or um
Hey,
just some
Dougie,
other
how's your
Counter Strike.
surfing?
game.
Counter
We
Strike's
gotta
fun.
run some
How
surfing pipe one of these days.
yeah, I don't know. But Valorant, I've every time I try and queue up, I just feel like I've re-entered high school, and everyone's I mean, when you play a shooter, you tend to want to leave chat on and like talk. Um, but I can't with that game. It's like a social sphere thing where if there's a female in the game, then everyone's got a simp, or she's just getting flamed by everybody. There's no in between. You just have full on simping and or full on flaming beyond all belief. There is just no in between. If both these parties in, then it's just a mashup of them yelling at each other. Um, there's that same mentality of some really dog shit player who feels like they know the game very well and they just want to lecture everybody. I can't. Valorant, I like that game. I just cannot play with chat on, and unfortunately, shooters are the most fun with chat on. And fuck me, dude. I feel like I'm sitting in the classroom,
I
and
mean,
I can't do it.
Valorant is basically just baby's first shooty bang bang. Most of the actually good players either move on to Rainbow Six or CS:GO / CS2.
Well, in
The
CS2, everyone's like
fucking
united.
sweats.
Everyone's united against the same cause in CS2. If a woman
The
enters the
fucking cheaters,
lobby,
bro.
they vote to kick.
Oh, that too.
Oh my god.
They're all womanators.
Yeah, exactly. You don't need to worry about any of that in CS2. They're just going to be vote kicked, and there won't be any drama. The only drama that's going to happen is when people tell each other to kill themselves, and that's the end of it. And that's
No,
it.
bro. The drama is the fact that there's so many cheaters.
Oh yeah, that
Oh,
too.
But
it's the same for Valorant, by the way. If you guys don't know, a lot of people I know that develop script packs for Valorant, they're known cheaters. Like they're saying this is the golden age of cheating because Riot Vanguard doesn't actually detect the cheats.
No, it's spyware. It doesn't actually do anything.
Pretty much.
what Dougie was saying was like jarringly true too. I don't know how many months it's been since the release of Clove, which is like their latest character. But I saw her reveal, I saw her trailer. I thought she was super fucking cunt. She looked super hype. She looked great. And I was like, I want to play the game. Like, I want to give it a shot. That looks really fun. She looks cute. I want to play it. And I was like, I'm gonna make it my goal to try to hit gold. I don't really play tactical shooters, so it's like, I thought it was a pretty fair, um, I guess like benchmark to reach. I don't know. And holy shit! In that like 1 month of grinding Valorant, I actually did make the effort to start using voice chat, even though that gives me insane anxiety.
Mm.
But I think I've gotten told to kill myself. I'll be raped. They'll rape me and kill my family. I've gotten so much hate for just like having
Existing.
a feminine presenting voice. Like I would like make a comm that I dealt X amount of damage to a person, and that's it. That's all it took. They heard that voice. They heard that like that pitch. Like they sensed the woman, and it was over. That right there.
Yeah.
It's crazy, and like oddly enough, you can't win. You like pop off, you get flamed. You do bad, you get flamed. You'll get told to like you'll get told you'll get raped regardless of how well you do. Like there is no winning, and
Nope.
that community is crazy. I don't know. I don't know what like. I don't even get feedback reports either. I think if I report them, I don't even get like a notification that they get banned. I don't think they actually like handle that stuff. That's weird.
Oh, that's because Riot hasn't actually put in the effort. They've been lying to the player base for like years. They're like, oh, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. They haven't done that.
They will
It's crazy.
never.
Don't worry,
Yeah,
they'll get it one day.
Yeah, the beautiful company
convenient.
that brought you League of Legends now brings you Valorant. The same amount of toxicity, except with voice chats.
Yeah.
Nah, dude, I'd kill to have fucking voice chat in League.
I don't.
I don't think you would.
Dude,
Oh.
I play the game at like Challenger, Grandmaster every season. Like, so I'm top 100, top 300, depending on the season. Uh, the the amount of stuffs that like Riot has done to essentially kill using chat for communication is one of the most irritating things in general. Like, I would kill just to have voice chats. Like, yes, there's gonna be toxicity, but when you're playing on the Korean server, communication is so important.
That's true, but counterpoint, you could just make a Discord and just put an invite link in the chat.
No one's
So
gonna do that.
I'll
Like,
jump in here because I used to do that, and I made a lot of friends doing that. And I stopped after a little bit. I went on a solo grind and I climb nice and high. And I was like, you know what? It's been a while, and I want to do it again. And I started doing it again. And every single time I did it, somebody would just join and start yelling into the mic as loud as possible, or saying just the most obscene, heinous things. And the experience was so night and day because, again, like, I started like a year after high school playing the game, and I swear to God, like, I dropped the Discord chat, or it wasn't even Discord. It was like fucking Skype and TeamSpeak and like there's Ven something.
Then
Um,
Ventrilla.
but even into Discord days, whatever. Like, it'd always be the one person they join. It was always such a. I mean, sometimes someone would be griefing or trolling, but like most of the time, they were so chill, and we'd duo, and it was like the experience fucking 10 years ago with League and like the community is so different than today. It's like
Yes,
it's
dude.
not even close. It's not even close. It used to be a whole different thing. As a
Well,
support main,
Dougie,
you
might I
get
interject?
so much love for playing support, dude. Yeah, sure.
The league community, you guys need to realize the people that are getting challenger nowadays. So league as a game is the type of game. If you want to play really Apex League of Legends, you have to spend like a lot of your time into the game because it's always changing. The league community from like season 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are all like adults. They've either gotten jobs or they've moved on with their life, so they don't have time to like to play the game 24/7. Um, that's why in the past, like I remember like I was playing in like top 100, top 150 queues. Like the queues were not as long, but what happens then is like you would have more people during the Skype era that actually enjoy playing the game and like just didn't care. They just wanted to win. Uh and then nowadays it's a combination of so many other issues because the people that are playing full time right now are either like in their early 20s, they're like in their early teens, they're like the fucking COVID generation that was like kept in during the so they couldn't actually develop any social sensible skills. And that's why like the game just feels bad because COVID was what brought like more players to the league base, just in general. And all the like, so their version is like they're just super obsessed with winning, but like their egos are fucking huge. So they like there's no rules for griefing or banning. There's no like punishment like there was in the past. So the community in general for League is just toxic. If you add Discord, like they don't give a fuck. They just want to make they want to make your life miserable. It's not about winning.
That's
That's
true.
what I
Yeah,
do every
and I
time I
also
play
think
a game.
streamers you just troll. There you say.
Yeah, I definitely don't try hard in any of my games. I just troll. That's why I do so bad.
That's fair. I think, or maybe you're lying. Maybe
I
you
think
actually do try and you can't win the game with your own
But
skill.
you're just a terrorist, ain't you?
I'm just a D2 terrorist, yeah.
D2 is a
I blame
compliment.
streamers actually a lot for
Uh,
the toxicity. I
it's
I
it's just an
disagree
dude.
with their mentality of maybe that's right, but I play in NA, so therefore I still attribute it to NA streamers. Like
It's
they came in and they made a living off of being as toxic as possible, and that was attractive to a lot of players. And after the game got so toxic, they had this mentality of, well, it's not our fault. Please fix it, Riot. Like, this is on you. But that's just complete and total bullshit. There were a ton, like, when you have 11,000 people watching one guy and they look up to this person, and like you said, it's a younger generation, and this is how they see them playing the game. They're running it down. I remember when I was that age, I watched people like Afterloo and I'm a cutie pie and fucking
BXN,
double lift and
like
and and
Dyrus
these
TSM.
old guard who they weren't like always entertaining to watch because they weren't fucking crazy fanatics that were doing crazy shit. They were playing the game really well, and most of it was really chill and relaxing, and like they just had lo-fi music on and they're just fucking playing the game. There were so little words spoken during those streams, and I get it. I understand why people like Tyler One and other streamers are popular. It's loud, it's funny. You're like, haha, he's fucking running it down. It's funny. Like I get it. I get it. It's like a prank. It's the prank generation. It's funny, but like you can't tell me that didn't have a wide influence on the game and the community. You can't. There's no way. We're talking over 30,000 people watching one guy every single day. You're telling me that like that didn't have an influence? Sorry, dude. I don't believe it for a fucking second. And I just love that after that happened and the community got so shit that they all came out and said, "Oh, it's not our fault. Right? You need to fix this shit." It's hilarious. And if you watch Tyler One now, like he actually kind of, you know, he doesn't condone that behavior all of a sudden. It's like, okay, I get it, you grew up, but like, dude, this is your spawn, bro. Like, this is you. This is you, like, reincarnated. Like, you did this. This is your fault, man.
I
You
know.
ran it down. This is your generation. This is what you did.
I know. I was one of them. I was in the Tyler One Discord.
Oh,
I was the run it down.
there you go.
I knew all the mods. I
And
knew
I have
all the
living
admins.
proof.
Yeah.
Bro. I can I add on?
Yeah.
Season 3, the most popular League streamer was probably Nightblue 3, Bjergsen, or anyone from like TSM.
Sure.
Like it was that this was before Nightblue went full degen. But the streamer culture back then was more about educative content when like everyone was trying to get better at League and like everyone was teaching. Once Tyler won and like the fucking 2 second attention span people came in, that was when the game started becoming shit because everyone wanted to be like Tyler. If the game didn't go their way, they had to start running it down.
Yeah.
And then Tyler getting unbanned was just proof that Riot actually justified like this god awful behavior. So it proved that like you don't actually get punished, and this proved it in the long run. Because in the past, if you got ran down, like you would get ridiculed by the entire community for just being a degen, and like people would just flame you the second like you were in their lobby. Riot when Riot like added Tyler One back, it proved like oh they actually welcome this behavior, and they try to use oh yeah we reformed. No, they didn't reform shit. He was soft ending now. Like
Well,
that
they're
that's
incentivized as a company.
yeah.
They're
And
incentivized as a company to not ban players. It's like it doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? It's like if you're Walmart, you have people running into your store buying stuff. It doesn't matter how fucking batshit they may be. If they're buying stuff, you're not incentivized to kick them out of the store. You want to encourage the behavior. So I mean, if Tyler One is bringing in thousands of people to play the game, then it does. They don't. Why do they care? And it's the same with toxicity. They're not incentivized to ban players or punish toxicity because then they would lose players, and they don't. Like, it's just not. It doesn't make sense money wise for them to ban people. It makes sense for them to tell us that they're going to take care of the problem, and never do because they've been doing that for 10 years. But it doesn't make sense in their brains. So.
and then adding on, Western streamers, people like the Baus, because their playstyle, like because of how they play, you just have these wannabe fans that like want to just be like them and like do funny shit like that. It ruins the entire game experience. They don't get punished for that. If you watch in like China and Korea, like let's compare like Eastern streamers to Western streamers, right? Like, we know people like Z99, Shalaban, there's Pizang, all these good like high mechanical monsters. Why do people watch them? Like even though they're one tricks, it's because they're really good at their champs and they know like macro wise, so they actually teach you something about the game. Whereas if you're watching the Baus, the first thing you go on like seeing his stream, you're seeing some fucking idiot like run it down on Scion, and then that's gonna go out in like even in high elo games because you're gonna have some idiot 14-year-old like or 15-year-old that's gonna be big fans and just copy him. And then another good example is like the EUS streamer, like the Nunu player Kesha, going full AP Nunu, and you know what that's gonna do? You're gonna get a full AP Nunu in your game. He's gonna be fucking useless, not do anything. It just ruins the experience. But it's the streamer culture and like the way they watch. Because Eastern streamers are known for their mechanics and like these super high level plays are like super sweaty, right? What do we get from NA streamers? Retarded ass screaming, like pardon the use of that. Just complete ape screaming. Like look at Dante's slash Doanal, like that's the average like fan base.
Yeah.
They condone
I
this
saw
behavior.
Kesha get a triple kill one time, so like AP Nunu must be good.
Yeah.
It's honestly funny, and like all of these people that are like that people like look up to or whatever, if they weren't like masters or grandmasters, people wouldn't really even watch them. That's the funniest part about it. They're just absolute
Well,
sociopaths. It's the funniest thing. I love
they're good
Dante.
players.
He's absolutely
A lot of
insane.
they are good players though.
Yeah.
They are actually good players. Like the Baus, he climb like off stream, he fucking climbs. Even after he got banned, he picked another account off stream, he climbs. Like Dantes can climb, Tyler One can climb. Like all these players off stream will climb. So they're all really good players. But again, unfortunately, there's a lot of good players, and all of them streaming. You need to stand out. And what's better than a good player? Oh, a good player who's playing fucking AP Nunu and he stands in the Rise ult and gets teleported in for the 5-man penta. It only took 18 tries, in which everyone was inting the whole time. Hey, that one shot, chef's kiss.
Oh yeah.
No. You're forgetting. They also scream like fucking
Oh
children
yeah.
on some sort of med. Like that's what attracts like people, because it was just during the T1 era. Like, because I remember people were content with just watching Dyrus and like the odd one, and like you guys remember back when like
Sneaky.
Sneaky, like these people would get like 20K, 50K viewers
Yeah.
just for streaming. Because why? Whenever they stream, they try to teach educational content, but like nowadays, everyone in League, like their mindset changed. Everyone thinks they know everything. Everyone thinks they're good at the game.
Yeah.
We
It was
shifted
also
from a learning mindset to like complete just like super ego. I'm the main character.
it's also partially Riot's fault, and I don't really blame them for this in particular. But they changed um the amount of time you had to spend in scrimming as a pro team to at least twice a day. They had implemented some rule where as a team you needed to play more, and so the pro players used to stream were no longer streaming, and it left a void for personalities instead of just educational content that was super popular. And suddenly you saw a rise of people like Tyler Wan and uh, others kind of pop up. Even to this day, like most of the pro players they aren't going to stream nearly as much, and they can't because they just don't have the time to do it. So it's not entirely their fault. Obviously, as a competitor, you're going to get more of scrimming than just playing solo queue all day. But it was an unfortunate trade off. So, yeah, what are you going to do, I guess?
Well, obviously you're not gonna ban them because they're still here.
Obviously not. Yeah, got to keep your
And
players.
honestly, it's like
Why would you kick your
like
customers out?
exactly like, but in like reference to the Walmart statement, I've seen plenty of body cam videos where people will like go into Walmart and be complete and total nuisances and then get immediately banned afterwards. So I will say that Walmart has plenty of customers; they can afford to lose quite a few.
Yes, yes.
I feel like Riot's
Um,
kind of the same way.
yeah. Well, I mean, it is what it is. It what it is now is probably what it'll be for quite a while. I don't. Again, they don't have any incentives to change. Actually, I think their new systems kind of promote more gameplay, just not ranked, where you have to go like play norms or something to shake off the ban.
Yeah,
Which and of course they've implemented the kind of 15 FF culture stuff where they just encourage games to go faster. So, you know,
Dude,
it's
if they just remove the 15 FF culture, like if they remove surrendering from any game, it actually just makes game quality in general just better, because people will actually try, because they know, oh, if we're gonna go into this game, we're actually playing to win, because you can't go next.
exactly.
But I like that's what Riot actually needs to do. They just need to. It won't affect their sales or anything. Just remove the 15 FF.
Yeah, I unironically cannot pick scaling mages in solo queue anymore
Like you
because
have to just play shit like fucking Talia, Gallia, or just assassins, because people mentally check out as soon as one bad thing goes.
exactly, I
Like,
I cannot play my standard scaling mage. Hell, even I would go as far to say like if my character spikes at 2 items, but they're just not an early game leaning character, that's still too late. Like genuinely, if I don't pop off within the first 5 to 10 minutes of the match, odds are something bad will happen. It's
well,
just whether it's bad enough to actually make them just FF15 and give up right off the bat.
if you want to play
It's
scaling mages right now, you just have to play it on ADC. That's the only way like it's justifiable. Because if you're playing like you have to just play shit like Talia for mid lane. Because if you don't, your teammates just low key just fucking grief you. Because it's the mentality. Any game with like a surrender culture, uh, it ruins the entire quality of the game.
yeah, it's
Uh,
yeah,
it's demoralizing, honestly.
I think I actually like the surrendering. I like the ability to allow my team to give up because if I don't, then the game lasts even longer than I want it to when I know it's going to be a loss.
Well, I think you have it in normals. I think you have it in like non-competitive environment. But if you're playing competitive, like, and like this is my argument for it. Like, the other option like to surrendering is just to let them open mid and like I'm fine with a culture like that because the game would be over. It's in a way it's surrendering. It's just 3 minutes later. It's just because here's the issue with surrendering. You usually like have some idiot that's gonna hold the other guy hostage if the game's like incredibly over. Because these two players don't like each other or something.
Yeah.
That's how it usually goes. So it's better just to remove it in general. So like when one bad thing happens, like either A, the entire team just unanimously agrees to like open, or B, like they don't mentally check out because one bad thing happens.
That's fair.
Because like I feel like the addition of a surrender always gives the player the mindset like, oh, my game is bad, I want to go next. But instead, they should like if they remove that, it's like it changes mindset somewhat. Yes, there will be those toxic outliers, but people would realize I'm stuck here for the next 5 to 10 minutes of my life. I need to make the best of it, or like the next 20, 30 minutes. Like that's what I have admitted. Like when I'm queuing up to a game. This is just for games in general, because if you have games like Rainbow Six Siege or like stuff like that, and you have somebody want to FF, like it just ruins the game quality, you know. Whereas if you can FF, but like you can open and like you can there's ways just to letting like other people blatantly win, so that would actually like it would also show like, oh, this guy's like a consistent, like he has a habit of just opening and like AFKing and base and soft griefing. It would make like the checks and getting these fuckers banned even easier.
That's true.
If they actually had a system for checking.
Yeah, the Riot's gonna use all that money to make more skins than milk people did.
I hope so. God, I hope so.
I just want to say, I think one of the weirdest things about the competitive environment in video games is how much it differs from like physical sports. So like let's take football for example. Like one, there's a huge opportunity cost in terms of like equipment or time or like the ability to like even show up at the practice field in order to like play or practice or do whatever. So like when you're in a football game, like even if you're getting freaking destroyed, like you still have to like you're trapped in that game. You know you're in there for 60 minutes. You know you've got 4 quarters to play. You know, you've got like, stats to pad or whatever the fuck. So like there's reasons for teams to like always continue to play hard even when they're getting destroyed by the opposing team. Whereas I feel like in like esports or like either in like solo queue for League or Valorant, or if you're in like actual esport competitive scene, it's such like a disposable fire and forget sort of thing. Like take solo queue, right? Like you lose a game of solo queue, it eats up, I don't know, 10 to 30, 45, 50 minutes of your time. And you just hop into the next queue and play another one. You can do that all day, all weekend, all month, all your whole life. Whereas it's like when I show up for that football game, I'm playing like one football game a week. And then like maybe I'm practicing like 3 days out of the week. I'm studying film. Like it's just such a different like opportunity cost in terms of like what resources you have. Whereas because I feel like video games are so like disposable and so quick to consume, fire and forget, it like changes the way that people approach the competitive side of it. I think
uh
that's maybe one of the reasons why like it is the way it is.
uh I think the biggest issue is that everyone's trying to compare it to sports. I don't think of like video games as sports. I always compare it to chess or like competitive chess. Because chess, like the ability just to get into chess or like just go to chess.com and play, it's very similar. Um, Video games should be approached in like the same thought process and training and like how people play chess and like how they actually understand concepts. The only difference is that video games require muscle memory more often than chess does, but it falls into the same category of just like the way of learning is very similar to how people should approach like learning in chess, or like like that's how I approach it, because um video game culture is more, it's easier and it's more accessible compared to like getting into sports, because sports you need to like get into equipment, you need to get other stuff like if you're playing hockey, like other stuff, sports, like, it's just you need to spend a lot of time and dedication. Whereas in video game, it's just it's like chess, right? You can, with modern day chess, you can just go on the internet, like find stuff, apply these concepts, and just get right into it. And then you can just spam as many games of chess as you want. I mean, look at Tyler One; he's already 1900.
Yeah.
I I agree with you, Ryan, a lot. I think a lot of my improvements come from placing just mentally, like me doing it myself, is when I place as much value on that next on that next game I'm about to queue as I can. Like when I go in the mentality of like, this is my sole game that I'm playing. This is my sole focus for this moment. I'm not thinking about like the next one or the one after, the one after, the one after. I'm going in with that sole mentality of like, there's so much value in this particular round or game that I need to maximize every single second of it. And I when I do that, obviously I am able to get a lot out of that particular game. Even if it's a loss, I can still squeeze out improvement. And I think that's very different from how most people approach the game, where they are just hoping they get that highlight moment that they may have saw on a stream, or they get that empowering moment that they felt from playing their character or their, pentakill, whatever the fuck. They just look for that super high dopamine game where they're the star. They fucking shit all over their opponents. They went 20-5, like they're the winner. Like they're the star, versus coming out with the mentality of like, I'm going in to just get something of value out of this game, even if I'm not the star. I just want some value other than,
I think it's also easier to
you know,
find value in physical sports because, like, when I practice League, like, what tangible benefit do I carry on a day-to-day basis?
Teaching you how to be a better human, bro. According to Riot Games, that was actually what their motto is for back when they were designing. They wanted their games to make you feel better.
Okay, well, that is clearly not actually a thing. So good job, Riot.
Yeah.
But
I think
when I'm
I think you
practicing for
can.
football, let's say, like when I'm practicing for football and I'm in the weight room, guess what? I'm getting like physically stronger. Like I have tangible differences in my day-to-day life as opposed to like League where it's like, okay, I spent all day at a computer and like it's not like I'm any taller or any stronger or faster. I'm just
Well, yeah, if you're trying to bulk up, dude,
No,
that's
you
what they're fun.
can get value. And there's a recent study that came out actually about the value of video games and what you can get out of them. And there were uh quite a few benefits of it. There were some downfalls
Yeah, bro, it
too.
gave
I
me
don't remember what the
nearsightedness.
downfalls were. But decision making and reactions were I think two of the biggest. But there were some definite benefits that you can get from playing video games. It was kind of wild. I've have to look up this study, but it just came out like maybe within the last 2 months. Um, but I mean, there's a lot you can derive from the success that you figure out how to get from playing professionally. A lot of pro players, when they get out of their league, they end up carrying over that success to other things. There's a lot that comes along with with getting good at anything. It's just about how you carry it over. Obviously, somebody who's playing, football every day is going to naturally build muscle. I think you're right. There's a lot of inherent benefit of a physical sport where you don't have to think about it. You can just get some form of benefit throughout your day-to-day life for sure. Like you're working out basically. I mean, no matter what you're doing, if it's a physical sport, you're probably working out. Versus video games can just be like TV where you're just drooling on yourself. Like again, hoping for that highlight moment. And I think a lot of people play video games like that. They just sit there and they just drool on themselves. I hard agree with that. I do think if you're gonna go in and get something out of playing video games, you have to put some effort into it to build up these skills. But there is stuff you can
oh yeah, I mean
come out from it.
practicing is huge no
There,
matter what you do, even if it is
that's
video games. I was just saying, like it is more you get more tangible benefits I think out of like physical sports when you practice. But that being said,
yes,
I think the lower barrier of entry for esports is what gives it such a great appeal because how many people just aren't physically gifted enough to like be good and play at elite levels of like physical sports. I feel like we can maybe all agree that like with the right like even like if you take like a silver player in league or bronze player in league and you just teach them like, hey, here's when you move on the map and where, you can freaking like go from bronze to freaking like platinum or emerald. And
Well,
then you add a little bit of mechanical skill on top of that and you're probably diamond.
yes, but you need to see the it depends on the level of entry, because if you're playing to compete on an actual competitive level, because I literally work in the esports division side of like gaming, And like I train players, like you actually have to have a base level of just like talent to get to the apex levels, like not diamond, but like the 0.0000001%, like at the professional level. It's still it follows the same like pipeline, at least Eastern wise, that it does as like modern sports. They start training you at high school, and when you show talent, they get you when you're like 16, 17, 18, when you're like at that age, and then they start training you because there's also other factors. Like you do need some level of talent to get to that level. You can't just like, because I know it's hard to say, but it doesn't take much to get to diamond in League of Legends, like, but it takes a lot more to go from diamond to like apex.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. I think the curve, I forget what they call it. That curve that shows
Well, I can thoroughly
mastery of
explain the
the game
curve
as you climb.
for at least League of Legends aspect of it, because I work in Korea for this stuff. But um the curve is like going, when you're going from like bronze to diamond, the curve is actually not that big to actually get good. It's just like you just need to be decent like at that level. So basically you just need to know how to like multiply, divide, and like know basic algebra. But once you go from like high diamond to grandmaster, the curve is completely different, because you need it's like you have to go through like an entire like mechanical engineering course equivalent, or like just complex levels of understanding like why things are the way they are. And you need to study constantly. You need to keep your memory up, in addition to keeping your muscle memory to like develop, because like 0.1 seconds of mechanics means the difference between this guy like completely breaking your skull in the game, or you breaking his skull, vice versa. And then you need to know like numbers wise, like why these things are the way they are. And some pro players, including, like they fail horrifically at that, because a good example is just like mathematical thought process and like item builds. uh if somebody who's done the math and shown it to you, like why a certain build is good, you still get pros building the worst things known to man, because they just don't like that, and that these things cause them to lose the game.
Yeah, I mean, and I also think that just kind of shows how many different skills you can acquire from from uh from performing, for getting better and training and practicing. It's like you do have all these different players who just kind of specialize in one particular skill, and they're just amazing at it. And meanwhile, they suck ass. They're bronze level at building items. It's just wild. But I think now is a good time to transition, because I did want to talk about. I wanted to go from the fact that like gaming was kind of looked down upon, to the fact that most of us have made at least a little bit of money from gaming in some way, shape, or form. And then you here have a full time career, you know, in the industry, which is completely insane from my perspective. Because again, as in high school, that was like insane. Like there was no track for that. That was not a possibility. Obviously there were people who did like one-on-one tournaments, like and played Smash or stuff like that, and you could win some money doing that. But even that was still looked down upon. Versus now, it's an it's an actual pathway that one can take. I mean, there are straight up just college courses on it.
Yeah, no, there is.
uh
Yeah.
wait, there's actually college courses, like people
Oh,
teach you.
oh yeah, esports management is like a huge um in a college degree industry, whatever you want to call it. Like lots of people go in for that. They go in for esports mental health, I think it's called, or something like that. That's another one. Yeah, there's
There's absolutely none of that in like the Eastern scene. um
really.
no, okay, this is really hilarious, because all all of the people that are doing that are essentially just snake oil salesmen.
Well, I mean,
I
that's what people say a lot for college.
yeah, like
College right
I'm
now,
sorry, but that is the absolute truth. Like you could, it's kind of like, it's less harder, to like, than being president of the United States, but the learning process is similar. Like you can't really teach somebody like that. They have to come to learn it on their own. Like I think esports is still in the wild west. There's a lot of discontents I have about the scene. We'll probably get onto like a couple of like the conversations down the line, but whoever is allowing these college courses are either getting scammed, they are snake oil salesmen themselves, or they're making like just straight up like disgusting degrees that no one will ever apply later on. I'm sorry, like, because anyone who takes esports management should just be taking business management, because it's the same fucking thing, except business management gets you a degree. You know? Holy
Yeah.
shit.
For
I can't
sure.
believe that's happening. That's
Yeah, well,
hilarious.
I actually know somebody who I know two people who are taking those getting those degrees. Um, but
Good luck finding a job, bro.
well, I know. Well, what tends to happen is they end up as coaches in the collegiate scene. I know quite a few retired amateurs or pro players. I mean, Kiwi Kid is one of them. I think he's currently coaching at college. But there's a ton of ex pros, people who get those degrees. They all end up going to coach collegiate or amateur teams. So there is still, even if it is snake oil, there is still a pathway for it, which is insane compared to again 10 years ago when that shit did. People would laugh at you and call you crazy. Like, what the hell are you on about? So I
Exactly.
mean, it's not even just that. Like, they're in high school now they have teams. There's competitive league in high school.
Yeah.
So one of the things I specialize in is I'm I'm an esports historian, because I actually take credit for like at least from like the 2009 till modern day esports era, and I know the ins and out of like what happened in most of the regions. And I can say one thing, like, if you want to get actually like high level paying jobs in esports, either A, you are already rich and like you're basically like 6'5" blue eyes trust fund guy, or B, you are lucky enough to know somebody in the scene to get a job there. That is how most jobs go. Like, that's the European scene for players. And that's basically like the European, the just the Chinese and Korean scene too. I'm not sure how it is in NA because I haven't interacted with NA, but from what I've interacted with my friends, it's still like, if you want to get somewhere, you have to know that small circle of fucking mafia members, and like, you have to just suck up to them.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well,
Of the mafia. They're great. They're good guys.
did you guys have esports programs at your schools? I know
Yes.
Ryan, you said you played some. You had LAN tournaments.
Yeah, we had like LAN tournaments, but it wasn't like an esports club or a team. So we definitely didn't have it in high school. In college, there was an effort by the time I was a senior to found a League of Legends team. But I was graduating early, and so I didn't put in for it. We were like looking to start, or they were looking to start like in the spring semester of 2016.
I had a TESPA program, which if you don't know, TESPA was like a at the time was a collegiate chapter esports program for people in college, and it was available for certain games. One of them being Hearthstone. I attempted to start a chapter, um, or join a chapter. I forget which one. It ended up never firing or going off or going anywhere. But I had the standing for it to at least be competitive with it. I was top 500 at one point in North America in terms of Hearthstone. I mainly got there with aggro decks in mid range, and it was a grind for sure.
Did you play Hunter, or like were you good old Zulak enjoyer like I was?
I literally just played any deck. It didn't matter. I played Odd Rogue for a while. I would play, Freeze Mage. Obviously, it had, it went up and down. Some expansions would allow for Freeze Mage, some wouldn't. Alexstrasza was around. Um, it was okay, but I preferred to play
Guys,
aggro.
those
You're respectable, brother. You're not one of those fucking blue black idiots in Magic.
No, I also play Magic too, and I've made some money off of Magic as well. I've won a lot of tournaments. Or actually, I shouldn't say I've won. I've gotten a top, the top percentage enough to get the rewards, the payout,
IRL Magic, or
both.
just like MTGO, MTG Arena?
Uh, Mainly spell table tournaments and IRL.
Because I got into Magic super competitively. Like I think I ended up getting top 2 in my region, but like I would just play like Legacy and like really good Magic.
Yeah.
Holy fuck, that game was like just learning the game taught me how to think essentially.
Yeah. I started playing Magic when around the same time I started playing League, and for me, it's always just been kind of easy. I don't even really think about it. Like all the game plan is just makes sense. It doesn't really. I don't even really need to think that hard. I actually do it while I'm doing other things. So I'll play like Magic while I'm playing other games, just because it's just a quick click for me. I'm done.
Rose, as the youngest, what was your esports competitive esports environment like growing up?
I'm sorry, what was that?
What was you? Did you have experience with competitive esports and when you were younger?
Um, by younger, do you mean like?
In high school, was there a team, or I know you got a scholarship, right? Or you got into college for
Oh,
elite teams?
yeah. So I went. This is like pre-COVID. Like we're talking 2018, 2019. Um, I guess one of the ways I tried socializing to make friends was I found out about land centers. So like every Saturday, I'd just go to Fort Lauderdale, and I'd go to this land center called ECG, East Coast Gaming, and they'd have like league tourneys every Saturday, I guess, and I'll just go there and play. And I guess one of the coaches for university saw me play, and he said when I graduate high school, like he's offering to like give me a scholarship for that, and I ended up going there, and that was kind of a disaster. I'm not gonna lie. I should have done my research, but I played on maybe like one or two teams, but I didn't really know what I was doing back then. I was like a 16-year-old. I was like a one trick in league. Like I didn't really know much, but like entering the university, I did get a lot of experience and I did learn a lot of things and I became a lot wiser. So that was like cool. But yeah, like when it comes to like management, like it's hard. Like I was promised we'd have a full roster. I got there and it was me and two other players, and the two other players in question were like a diamond 4 and a gold 3. And it's like this is not a team.
So you got scammed.
Yeah, I got scammed. And like granted the scholarship was hefty. Like I in 1,000 years would not be able to afford that school. But it like pretty much covered everything. So like in that end it was good. But I didn't really get what I was coming for. Like I went to like I guess this is another thing. You probably shouldn't go to university for the sake of playing League of Legends, but like that's a really good offer and I took it, you know.
It would
But
also maybe make.
man,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
you could go.
No, I was gonna say like it would maybe be one thing to go to school for League of Legends if it was like a more established or affluent career field. Like for athletes, let's say like if you're a D1 athlete and you're like a 5-star football player, baseball player, whatever at a high school, and you have like really good career prospects, and you can go to like a really prestigious university to you know play. Going to school for that sport is like a huge plus. Whereas
Yeah.
the schools that offer league or like are really good at league are maybe not as prestigious and aren't as even if you're like let's say like you're the best collegiate league player ever, it's not like you're gonna go and make you know $5 million over 4 years of a rookie football and or baseball contract. You're likely going to make far less than that. It used to maybe I guess be a little bit different when like the salaries were getting really inflated for like Western European or Western and some, I guess. I mean, the Asian salaries weren't as inflated, but like remember when like Perk signed with Cloud9 for like 30 million or whatever?
No,
Like,
the Asian salaries were incredibly inflated, brother. Like,
but
Chi-
so a lot of Fakers. So Faker's base salary, for example, is like under 10 million, but he gets a fuck ton in advertisements.
well, that's faker. Like for high level Chinese players, like the average. There was a point where the average player's salary in LPL was like 1 million. Obviously, it's gone down because of esports winter. But like
Mhm.
the Asian salaries were incredibly expensive. Like, but the only difference was that nobody would. There was no university path to pro. Nobody would ever do that. They would find you from solo queue, and they would scout you into the pro scene like directly. You would just skip the university process in general. The reason why like people go into like uni for like baseball, like football, stuff like that for collegiate is because there's a path to pro and like there's a direct program like a funnel. There's no funnel because of how Riot because of Riot's greedy ass, there's no way to just in general just go back into the scene. Because that if you guys didn't know, what they did was they in the past there used to be like tournaments that just like open tournaments ran like grassroots level tournaments that like was really good, had huge like $50,000 $60,000 pricing, but Riot decided to sell the rights to for high school league to a certain organization, and that organization wanted people to pay a subscription, which is the worst idea, and that essentially killed the amateur high school route. And then Riot killed all of the amateur stuff for North America too. So there was actually no good path to pro.
I think I actually don't blame Riot here. Riot's a company. I think I blame our government. There's been such a like resistance to esports even being considered sports that they just refuse to put our government refuses to put infrastructure in place that is there for baseball and basketball and pretty much any other physical sport. There are like standardized rules, there's control, there's regulation that hasn't been that hasn't been provided by our government, you know.
Our government is too backwards. Like the U.S. government is too backwards ass to realize that like esports is a thing, brother. Like, have you seen how technologically like deficit they are?
Well, that's my point. And so it's been left in the hands of a corporation. And so I'm never, I hate this philosophy that like, oh my God, that corporation is so greedy. It's like, yeah, bro, like their job is to make money. Like normally this is where your government steps in. And that we already know what this looks like in terms of basketball, baseball, football, pretty much any other fucking, an actual sport on the planet. So like, yeah, it's got left in the hands of Riot, and Riot said, "Yeah, we're not leaving this to anyone else because why would we?" Because if you look at like the UFC, right? Or, I mean, what would happen if football or any of them were left uh, to get like it was in the open market and there was like free competition for whichever was best. Like that would be great, for us, but it would be bad for it'd be bad for Riot. So Riot took up the mantle and said, "We'll take care of it. We'll make sure that nobody else can handle any tournament. They definitely can't start a league." And as a matter of fact, Riot is known for going and killing. So in the Australia, the Oceania region, they had their own system in place, their own infrastructure, and Riot came in and said, "That's ours now. Go fuck yourself." And then it failed. It flopped. And then they said, "Okay, here, you can take it back. We fucked it up. Oh, and by the way, now NA can take your players for free." So, I mean, again, I don't. Corporations they're gonna be greedy and do whatever they think is best and make the most amount of money. So I kind of blame, unfortunately, our government here for being really slow when it comes to esports. And in comparison, in Asia, you guys have the like Asian, what is the Asian Games thing? You guys have like a mini Olympics for esports and shit. Like you guys are so fucking on top of it that there's not besides the normal problems that Asia has.
Well, do
Um,
you guys do you know why? It's because Asia is not ran by Riot. Yes, there's Riot Games Korea, but it's literally just ran by Tencent. It just proves like Riot NA is just very incompetent with how they run things.
True. I mean, you're not wrong, but again, I don't blame corporations for being incompetent or greedy because that's what I expect from corporations. Unfortunately, I don't expect that from my government. Oh, most unfortunate, but yeah.
I
So
think
now we end up with
yeah.
this really messy kind of on and off structure of will they, won't they be supported by Riot, and Riot is going to turn the switch on and off based on who's making money. If they're making money, and yeah, that's not healthy for anybody. That means that some people are going to get paid sometimes, they're not going to get paid other times. There's no path in the future for a long-term career because everyone is so like they're not unsure this game's going to exist past another 5 to 10 years. Anyways, sorry.
No, I don't. I think the best way to fix the issues with League right now is to implement the same thing Korea does, which is a social security system where you have to have your social security number, and you have to if you do things wrong in the game, your social security gets tagged, etc., etc. I feel
You know that will never happen. Like, this isn't to sound rude because of like First Amendment rights, right? Because what the Korean does is because the Constitution doesn't guarantee rights of privacy because of like the Korean War, but to implement a security system means that Riot, a company that I really don't trust, will have a right to fucking like sue you over the dumbest shit just because of that. Like,
There's
you
no
know
way
how
the dual
shitty Riot
citizen
is.
knows this. I like you, Vin. I like you.
Like, you don't want Riot to do that. Like, China is ruled by a communist party, so they literally have a program which like names if you're a girl or a guy on their server.
I'm
If you
sure I
didn't know
did
that.
know that.
So like the server would directly tell, but if you do that, it's a violation of like privacy rights from the Constitution, and it's the most un-American thing that you can do, which sounds like something that Riot absolutely wants. I think that's why they installed Vanguard, right? But the way that they need, like, the only way that they can fix the toxicity in League of Legends is to have an entire division dedicated to that, like, that has experience with running toxicity, aka a tribunal.
mm,
But they're not gonna do
yeah.
that
I
because
th-
that's
yeah, I think
uh
I think that's in terms of, because obviously I have 4 banned accounts. I'm part of the issue here, but
Only
um
4?
only
Honestly,
4.
I'm impressed.
Yeah, only
bro.
4.
I'm
I'm
on my
impressed.
ninth one, bro.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, but so it's like I'm part of the problem, but then again everyone is. But the thing is, it's like they put in a
huh?
report button. They put in a report button, and they put in a mute button. People can literally choose to mute you, but instead they will go out of their way to report you. I think they need to remove one of these 2 features. Either get rid of the reporting or get rid of the muting. Which is it going to
Well,
be?
there's actually a different reason why they added the mute button. Like, cause I have people that work for Riot, and like I understand why the real reason why they implemented the mute system, the whole thing. So if you guys didn't know, it's not monetary, like it's not a money incentive to add voice chats. Like, if you guys seen over the years, gaming companies are just gonna get rid of voice chats in general because of just how it just doesn't get them money. Like, does this really get them another skin? No, it doesn't. It was innovative at one point, but now because of the fact that like it doesn't apply, like it doesn't help them in anything regarding to money. That's why like they're erasing that. That's why Riot got rid of like pings and stuff, because they were like, oh, it's toxic. Then the reason why it was toxic was because it essentially removed the player base because of how super toxic League was. So as a result, they're removing the voice chats because money wise it just doesn't help them. They have a bigger incentive to just straight up remove the voice chat and then find other ways to communicate.
Makes sense, actually, what you just said.
Yeah.
100%. That makes so much sense.
Yeah, I've only used
That
Discord though.
makes
I
so
would
much
just
sense.
post the Discord link and then people would join it. That'd be the end of it.
Like
I,
the way that Riot can fix like the toxicity issue, they should have an option for you to connect your Discord, and then they should make League servers like off Discord, and in addition to adding communications for voice. Like,
they
that's how
can't.
they fix the issue. But they can't,
Because
because
they become liable also with what
yeah,
happens in Discord, and Discord's not the
The
moderation in
Discord
Discord is just
mods.
not there.
The Discord
we
mod.
yeah, because
don't
then
talk
Riot.
about the Discord mods and their freaking kittens.
Yeah, the
We don't
kid.
want to talk.
Ooh, my
We don't want to.
kittens.
We don't want to talk about
Yeah.
that.
Dude. I'm getting pick up flashbacks like Doug's old team with Tim. Oh my
Oh
fucking
God,
god.
please,
Oh
let's not. I
god.
thought about putting him on
What?
tonight for fun, to be honest, but um,
Tim
whatever.
was
Let's not
weird.
talk about that. That's
Yeah.
that's a banana bread moment. Okay, just putting that out there.
I don't
Banana
know what
Um,
banana bread is.
I'm hungry now, Doug. What are you talking about banana
Okay,
bread for?
let's actually shift. Let's talk about the ecosystem of esports. I think that's a really good topic we should go over. Just like
Which
in
part?
general. Like what are your thoughts right now? Because there's this really big thing, like two big things with the changes of esports history. Just what if you guys don't know, recently like there's this thing called the Esports World Cup. It's going to be a big event, but what actually happened is these companies, like these LGBTQ plus companies that's quote unquote support people of different genders, have taken money directly from the Saudi government, who orders, like, if you're gay or fucking like lesbian or whatever, they order you to basically um kill that they can order public executions on you for being gay, and they have essentially been funded, like C9 FlyQuest unironically, by the Saudi government to join their esports World Cup event. And Riot has actually like re-changed their calendar to allow the esports world event, because they've also are in bed with the same Saudi government that ordered like what do you call it, other people to be randomly killed just because they voiced a different opinion. And what's happening is, because they're using the excuse esports winter, because they've been in a drought, like all of the angel investors basically took their money out because they realized esports as a scene was a scam, because people did, like, the people in charge don't actually know how to run it. So now they're taking money directly from the Saudi government, like to play in this tournament. I think some orgs are taking 600,000, other orgs are taking up to millions depending on their sizes, and Riot for sure has taken millions too, if you guys didn't know. What are your thoughts
Well,
on
now
this?
this is one of my favorite parts of our podcast and why it's named Pixels to Politics. So, the Saudis have had a history of dipping their hands into the governments of quite a few countries for quite a while, including the U.S. So it's not all that surprising to me that that's happening. Um, for this, I mean, they just want to make money, and they're okay with. I mean, they're okay with whatever, right? They have their very strict Sharia law and their their extremist policies and stuff. It's more on the public to pay attention to these things. Um, and yeah, I mean, I just find it a little ironic and funny that these these warriors who are all about high morality love playing a Chinese funded game, or or they cheer for a Middle Eastern country. It's just like I don't think
Like,
you know what goes on there. Like
Dougie,
yeah,
side note. So you know Steve Arhanset, right? Like the owner of Team Liquid.
yeah,
So he is gay. I want you to go on his Twitter.
I didn't actually know that.
He recently published something that is completely fucking hypocritical against like the beliefs, because this is a government that blatantly kills
Yeah,
people for being gay, and
yeah, oh
he's
yeah.
saying like that you should actually come into contact. It like you need to contact and instead of isolate him. But I shit you not, he is probably not allowed to fly there.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. And I mean, again, you're right. Like they're paid hundreds of thousands of dollars, some of them millions of dollars, to overlook their high ground. But I this kind of goes back for me. I just like laugh now when I see people supporting a country or an organization that goes completely against what it is they say they stand for. It's just funny to me because you can't correct them. Um, and so I just laugh like, okay, you're an idiot, right? Like it's not that surprising at all that either Steve is dumb and doesn't know what goes on in their country, or he's just paid off. One of these two things is happening. And again, I'm not surprised. The corporation or an organization is going to make money, and they're just going to
Also,
do whatever. Yeah, go ahead.
can I say that, like, out of all the countries that I would expect to like host or like invest heavily in like esports and shit, I would have never, like, if you had asked me a decade ago, I'd have never guessed Saudi Arabia as the country. Like, I'd have guessed like the U.S., like
UAE. Oh,
China,
yeah.
Japan, freaking maybe South Korea. I probably would have guessed North Korea before I guessed Saudi Arabia.
This is
Well,
yeah. This
if
is
if you interacted with the European scene, you would know, because like you guys remember the Neom deal, right? that was already signs of Saudi Arabia dipping. It's because the Saudi investment fund, if you guys didn't know about like this from the political aspect, eventually all that like blood oil money is gonna dry, right? So what the Saudi investment fund wants to do is they want to diversify into as many things. So like you just it's the definition of throwing money at a problem until it disappears. That's what they're doing. So they're like, oh, this esport thing looks interesting, because you guys remember the investor era, which is like 2018, 2019, 2020. That was when all of the money essentially was just um all of the investor money was essentially just there. And essentially what had one sec what happened was, now that the investors realized, oh, we got scammed by the owners, because the owners are just donkeys at managing. We were actually like they're taking Saudi Arabian money because of that, because now that the investors are out, the Saudis are going to go back in.
Yeah, I think this is a smart move by Saudi Arabia if we're talking from a political standpoint. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, this is smart. What they're trying to do is they're trying to capitalize on the esports scene, and they're willing to pay out the chump change, to the people, and just get them to all come over to Saudi Arabia so that they can impose, not only have the esports scene there, but impose their own ideology as well in the process. I think it's incredibly smart. It's a good move.
Well, we've seen this in other areas too. We saw it in soccer, right? They like bought some of the best soccer players.
Yeah, we saw
So
some of
I
the
do
stuff that
think,
was going on there during the soccer cup. Yep,
yeah, I agree. I think it's a political move for them, a public image move for them. They're just
absolutely.
like, we want to look good. We want to maintain our positive relationship with the West. We want to diverse our resources. There's going to be stadiums. I'm sure they'll host tournaments. I'm sure they'll form their own teams. They just want in on the cash flow,
Yep.
and it's a smart move on their part. And the people who say they stand for something and they then support such a thing happening is, I can only laugh at them and call them an idiot, because,
I
that's what
don't. I think they're
they are.
smart. I think they're smart too. They're taking the payout. They're taking the money.
I again, like, if they understand what's going on, then sure, like, yeah, you're just doing what's best for you. I get it. People do that again,
Yeah.
but it's the ding dongs that are just unaware, either unintentionally or intentionally, because we all don't want to know all the horrific things going on in the world. But yeah, for Saudi Arabia, I think recently in the UAE, right, and I forget the other one, but there's that region there where, like, they're just trying their best to have their own cultural identity, whether we like it or not, and whether the people there like it or not, and kind of participate in the world, and maintain diplomatic relations and maintain financial relations. And again, you're right, like, they're just doing the smart thing. Again, I don't care, it's whatever. Like, I just kind of laugh at the people who say they stand for one thing and then they also support such a thing going on. It's
Yeah.
just funny,
Yeah, I think the best way to describe the Middle East, like most of the Middle East right now, is the stereotypical American boomer. They've reached the point where their kids have left the house. They're divorced more than likely. They sit at home all day drinking beer and watching sports on ESPN. And then they wake up to an empty home. They sit on the couch, they drink their beer, they watch ESPN. And one day they hear the neighbors having a grill out, and they're not invited to the grill out because they don't like anyone. And people don't like them because of their beliefs. And so they're like, "Wait a minute. I should try to host a grill out now." And so they just invite everyone in the neighborhood to a grill out, and they put some money in the envelope when they put it at the doorstep. That's kind of what's happening right now. And some people will show up just because of the money, and even though they don't agree with what they believe.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a cultural shift going on.
Yeah.
I am curious. This is a little out of context, but we've seen a lot of European elections kind of wrap up, and we're seeing a lot of right wing governments kind of come into play. I'm very interested in seeing how that will play out in the long run,
Hmm.
um, because there has been a rise in Muslim culture in the West, and yeah, mass immigration and blah 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 blah. Uh, and a lot of these right wing governments and politicians are coming in on having a much more hawkish stance when it comes to immigration and that culture. So I don't know. We'll see how this kind of like plays out. But yeah, I'm not surprised about Saudi Arabia's moves at all. And
Hmm.
I do think they're trying their best. A lot of the Middle Eastern countries genuinely don't want war anymore. They've been fucking torn up by it for quite a while. Obviously, there are some outliers, some very extremists, but quite a few of them just don't want fucking war anymore. Like it's been a war-torn region for forever, to be honest. And a lot of them are just trying to kind of get by with their own beliefs and their own culture. It does exist for a reason. There are people in these countries who believe these things, right? Like it is their religion. It is their culture for thousands of years. So it does make sense. I don't necessarily think it's right, but I understand from their perspective why it is they do what they do, and they just don't want war anymore. So they're willing to compromise in some places more than others. I mean, there are a lot of um, African countries that are much worse when it comes to uh, LGBTQ communities, much worse. So, as much as I like poking fun at Middle Eastern countries, I don't think Saudi Arabia is the worst one. They're,
No,
like
there's a lot of places you
so.
can that if you went to that if you were LGBTQ that you're gonna have a rough time. Like Brazil, like pretty much most of South America, most of Africa, most of the Middle East. If you go there and you're LGBTQ, you should fear for your safety. Absolutely, you're not going to be considered safe by most standards unless you're near a U.S.
Who?
embassy.
Which country, Ryan, did the ban, or they classified it as a mental illness? Do you remember we talked about this? I think it was fucking like 5 or 6 episodes ago.
Well,
I remember what
we
you're talking about.
they literally cane you for having like gay intercourse in Indonesia. By the way, like they publicly cane you.
Yep,
Yeah.
Southeast Asia. It's another place.
So I think it was a South American country. I think it was Peru.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Peru they classified it as a mental illness. Yeah, I remember the episode now.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, the only places that like are really safe is mainly Canada, United States, most of Europe. I don't know about Russia. Um,
No, they've gone very again. Have taken. I mean, they've always kind of been much against it, but one of Putin's hard stances is that like that's evil. It's like it's not good. It's satanic. They've only increased that rhetoric quite a bit since the war, and I think part of it's in a way of diversing itself from the Western culture, um, and just playing up the differences and that they're in the right and we're morally wrong, and they've he's said a lot of things and they've put out a lot of statements, but it's not okay in Russia, and it's only gotten a lot worse. They passed some bill recently that um, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was very much an attack on that community.
yeah,
So
yeah. I mean, like there are much better places to host a World Cup. That's going to be a lot more inclusive for people, for everyone. So I don't like, it's really bizarre to me how no other country has really come together and been like, hey, we'll shell out this amount to have you shift the World Cup to this location instead, or something along those lines. Because it is a popular thing. Like if you look at Twitch, it gets hundreds of thousands of viewers on a daily basis. Sometimes millions often, and it's like, like, if I was a government, if I was making decisions, I would absolutely want an esport to be held in my country. I don't know why that would not be more more competed over, more competition for. I don't understand that.
I, again, I think a lot of it is just specifically the U.S. It's the U.S. government's fault. I think they refuse to move a little bit forward in this area and acknowledge that esports is a thing and that it's a growing thing. And I mean, how many times they have teams had visa problems getting their players even just go over because they're not classified as sports. There's like some kind of like uh lower visa that they can get access to, but it's like hell to get it. Dude, fuck. There's that guy Moist Critical.
Yep.
He's currently suing the U.S. government for a similar problem where he had a esports team, couldn't get the players to go over even though they had visas. He was proving that these players were very good, very obvious. Still couldn't get them over just because the customs agent he's working with is mental. Like the system is
It's flawed.
it's terrible. it's
Yeah.
very flawed. Yeah, and the government needs to do a better job if they want this industry to flourish at an international level. And it's a really big missed opportunity, clearly, because it's fucking flourishing in Asia and it's bringing in millions of tourists,
Yeah.
millions of tourists, like fucking billions of dollars, maybe trillions of dollars. And
Yeah.
the U.S. is really slacking in this area. And again, I just blame our fucking government, man. Like, again, we can't expect Riot to do it because again, it's a
They're owned
company.
by
If
Tencent.
they think,
Yeah.
well, yeah, I mean, hey, that's true
Like
too. Like,
China's just kind of taking over the whole gaming industry to begin with. You got Honkai Star Rail, Genshin Impact, then you got the new one Zenless Zero or whatever it's called. Like that's just one company. Then you have Tencent, which owns a bunch of other games. Riot, League of Legends, Valorant, and there's another few slew of other games like Garena Free Fire that a lot of people online play. It's like China's taking over the gaming market right now. Not a whole lot of American companies are really stepping up to the plate and being like, "Hey, we should, get on the market for this and start competing for it." And it's kind of disappointing. I'm hoping Microsoft will improve things with now that they own the Blizzard IP. And I've noticed. Yeah, go ahead.
Mind if I like interject?
Go for it.
Have you seen the state of Western gaming? Western gaming's big fucking thing is live service. They haven't realized that the best way to do it is just big anime titties, run gacha game. That's how they get money.
Yeah, yeah. That's literally it. It is the simplest and easiest method. That's why there's so many of them over in Asia, because it makes money very quickly. I have a gotcha game on my phone that is actually a Western company, and it's actually the first one that actually incorporates not entirely, anime, but it's close enough. And it's like, you have Microsoft right now, which owns the Blizzard IP, and they've actually done a really good job at improving and fixing the games that um, the original, Blizzard originally was messing up when they were under the Activision agreement, and now they're under, it's all under Microsoft's ownership for the most part at this point. And I'm hoping that Microsoft will become a player in the international field, and I think they will.
I hope so too. However, I still think the government has to play a role. A lot of the growth you see in other regions is not just based on one company. There's effort from the government to help these companies establish these systems. It's not just one company putting these things together. It's never usually that. If you look at stadiums, they're not usually just funded by a single company like
No,
Tencent or Riot Games. Previously, it's not like that. It's not the way it works. But unfortunately, Riot kind of has a monopoly here
they do.
on this system, and even if they tried, I'm not really sure they could pull it off at a mass scale that they would need to. I think like you have to have help from a government, and the U.S. government could very easily do it of all the governments. And unfortunately, they've left a void, and that void is being fucking filled by Middle Eastern countries and Asian countries, and
Yeah,
it is what it is. This the state of gaming that we're at, competitive gaming that we're looking at here.
yeah, and it's rough. It's for sure rough. But I think because you got to remember though, like it was like over 60 billion, I think, for Microsoft to purchase Blizzard, Activision Blizzard. Like they have some capital. They got some moolah to work with here. They have capital for sure. They have the ability to really make a turnaround on a lot of these issues. And I do have some expectation that they're going to attempt to enter an international market with a lot of their games.
I
I
hope
know,
they do.
yeah, I know they fucked up with Diablo Immortal. They sent it through to a third party to code the game, and not only did they have a third party code the game that was from China, they also made it so it was going to be mobile only. And even when they made it a PC only game, it was still pay to win. So they failed to understand their market, they failed to understand their demographic, and they failed to um, hire the proper developers to code a game that appealed to their player base. And ultimately, it's going to be up to Microsoft now that they own the IP to fix all of these damages that have been done by Bobby Kotick and friends of Activision Blizzard. and I'm hoping that they will. They have improved Diablo 4 significantly. I've been playing a lot of Diablo 4 lately, and it's a lot better. And I feel like the developers have heard the feedback, and they are making a lot of important changes for their IP.
Yeah, Nvidia is another one, but I think Nvidia is just having so much fun playing on the back end, doing all the back end work, that
Yeah.
they probably don't really care much for expanding into this area. They're just, they don't care much for uh building the trains when they just put down the railroad.
Yeah.
They don't care. They don't need the service when they're just building all the framework. But there are some companies for sure that can do it. Microsoft definitely one of them, and they have an incentive to do it, being an
Exactly.
American company. So
Exactly.
you're not wrong. We'll see. Um, Curiously, where do you guys see the future of esports going? Any do you think there'll be a toss up?
I think it's just going
You think
to improve over time. I think it's going to become I think right now physical sports are technically, they're more popular. They get more viewership, and I think at a certain point it's going to kind of even out between the two, and eventually it's going to be on the same playing field. And there'll probably be a TV channel for it at some point. For the people that still watch TV, I don't watch TV. I only use the internet, so I don't know if that will change as well, and it won't be the TV channels won't exist anymore. It'll just be streaming. That'll probably end up being the case.
yeah,
Very
I
cool
know.
stuff.
Sorry,
Sorry,
go
go
ahead.
ahead, Dougie. No, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say that I already know a lot of people who don't even play games; they just watch
Yeah.
the pro scene. And I when I first learned that, I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. And I thought about it, I was like, not really that weird at all. You know what I mean? Like, how many people don't play football, but they watch pro football or soccer, or hockey, blah blah blah. Like,
Yeah, they
we
combine
are
it a little
kind of
bit. Mm-hmm.
the meta. Yeah, the meta is just catching up for sure. We did see a large amount of growth, and I think it kind of stalled and maybe dipped a little bit, but I expect it to skyrocket back upward.
Yeah. Well, if
Yeah.
you even take out the context of like competitive gaming, if you just look at how many people watch people do like let's plays or whatever, for a lot of people, the joy of video games, if it's not the social aspect, it's the like story based or just figure out what the game is about aspect. And it's cheaper for someone, for the cost of free to watch someone else play it than buy the game themselves and play it.
For
Yeah.
That's
sure.
the
Except
big barrier
League
to
of
entry.
Legends is free, just like
Mind if I interject once again?
no, go for it.
I'll add on. So you guys know how like a lot of majority of like great games, like really good games, are single player. I mean, look at Cyberpunk 2077, like not on launch obviously, but current Cyberpunk. There's the Batman Arkham series, Baldur's Gate 3, like all of these are player based and like player story based. And The Witcher 3, any of the Souls like games,
Yay.
their goal is to teach. One of the most biggest, like, so you guys know how tech has like the AI bubble where everything has to have AI, everything has to have this or that. In live game, like in modern gaming, one of the most cancerous things that I have seen is the shift from like these games that are meant to be artworks, like styles, and like just yes, they're meant to make money, but the switch to live service games and like the idea of just making the substance so absolutely dog shit. Cause you guys remember back in the day when like we would play Left 4 Dead, like even Minecraft, games that were simple but like very good. Everything has switched to live service. Look at the new Call of Duty. Like everyone wants Fortnite, but they don't want to design Fortnite or actually create a good like game. They're more focused on the live service aspect. It's become the new big thing. That's why the Western audience scene is so dog shit. Because I mean, like, let's look at Warner Bros. And like the Montreal, like the most like recent releases of like Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. That's a dog shit game. Everyone can agree.
Yeah.
Um, and it's the obsession with the live services that encourage like, oh, these are the games that we're gonna get. Um, these are the fucking type of games that like we're gonna get for the next thing. Instead of of just doing that, like they should have gone with great storyline as the main focus, and then slight like gotcha slash microtransaction free to plays. Like that's how they make money. But everyone wants live service. Like everyone wants Against an Impact or slash like Fortnite, but nobody wants to actually design a good game.
No.
And the worst thing of all, they make you pay money for that live service like beforehand.
Yeah.
So it just completely ruins the gaming experience because these corporations have one thing on their mind to make as much money for their quarterly earning as possible instead of just realizing if they take the long run, they'll probably end up making more money than like these live service actions.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
I
Go ahead, Doug.
sorry, go ahead. I was just gonna say I do think an area that the Western industry is kind of popping off is our indie field. It is getting kind of crazy how many back-to-back pop-offs we've had, and I actually kind of expect that industry to keep growing more and more, especially with the implementation of AI. Um, I think that the the party game market, especially when it can be so easily, I don't know about easily, but it can be developed by just a few people, has increased that competition by so much. And people kind of seem to enjoy co-op games against NPCs, and the use of I think is only going to excel that particular industry by quite a bit. Um, and the fact that it's usually so cheap because again, it's it's indie, and people are getting this like distaste for microtransactions and that like gambling aspect. I expect that particular area to grow by quite a bit, even more than it already has. It is. I'm kind of looking forward to it too, but it is an area where I think the Western side is somewhat popping off. I do agree that like the big corporations. However, I think the Eastern corporations are just fucking profiting off gambling addictions. So, you know, I guess pick your poison. But the indie scene is just fucking crazy, man. I mean, we've had so many different little party games pop up that are just they're just going, they're just making millions of dollars, fucking millions, dude. Teams are like 4 people, fucking pushing these games out in a year. All of a sudden, they're millionaires. That's crazy. So wow.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like um, the live service model is far more financially beneficial to them if they actually focus on developing a good product. Like when Diablo 4 first came out, it was very rugged. It was not particularly very good. People did not like it. There is a cosmetic shop in the game, which is for the most part its model for how it makes its money. But people really didn't buy cosmetics because people weren't playing the game because the game was not very good. And once they actually hired the proper developers after Microsoft took over, and they listened to player feedback and they improved the game, I guarantee you they've seen an increase in the amount of people purchasing cosmetics or purchasing, add-ons or like the new expansion that just came out, for example, because people now have faith that the game is going to be fun for them to play. And that, at the end of the day, that's all people really care about. And people don't mind spending cosmetics on a game if they know, one, that it's fun, and two, that the people around them are also playing it, which is why League is a great example of a microtransaction heaven for a live service game, which has made God knows how many billions of dollars off of cosmetics. And I feel like if they just first focus on developing a good game, the live service model will come naturally for them.
Too expensive. I think right now the biggest problem for these big guys is that their games, one, they rely on IPs that are worth too much money for them to not push in more money, and there's just an inflation cost.
Yeah.
And particularly, gaming has always been a volatile area of an industry where you never really know what technology or genre or um, product is going to pop off next. You just don't fucking know. It's not possible. And part of the reason is because there's not as much regulation, but they, a AAA studio can't. It's just so impossible for them to compete with the indie scene. It's just not fucking feasible. And the resources that these indie developers have to put out a product that is equally as fun and profitable as a big company. I mean, it's just unfair to the big guys. Like they just can't compete. It's just not feasible. I mean, you have millions of single party developers who are just pumping out games, and those guys, the big guys, not only are competing one on one with those other people, but they're competing with all of them at one time. Like it's just not possible. So I'm not surprised to see that industry just like super inflated, is having so much trouble keeping up because they spend millions of dollars, they spend hundreds of hours. Um, they're just outpaced in every area. It's cheaper to have a single person developing a game, using the same tools. The tools are usually free,
Yeah.
um, or they're a much lower cost, and it's much less time. So it's rough for them. I don't entirely blame them, and they're just kind of coming up short, putting out these huge, huge, huge productions that just are they just not meeting the quality standards. But even if they did, like let's say Cyberpunk came out and it was fucking perfect, people are still gonna buy the shit out of Goose Game and Stray Cat or whatever the fuck people are playing, or
Yeah.
Helldivers.
Well,
Like
I don't think they should be competing. I think they should look to like set out their own like games, because the advantage
I
that
agree with you.
these guys have is they're able to essentially like they have their own brand and their own IP, and they should just focus on telling good stories. Like if the gameplay and the stories are good, like of course people are gonna enjoy it. Like I mean, look at Dragon's Dogma 2. That's a good game, but like the initial launch was shit because they just did a lazy job at it. Like if they actually focused on developing good games instead of just like finding the best ways to fucking scam the consumer, like the WB Montreal, like of course we're gonna do that. Like, okay, let's look at the most recent example. What's the next big thing that's coming out this summer? It's the Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree DLC. Like I've already paid my $40 for it. It's a good story. It's a good game. Like it's well designed. That's a AAA studio, but like they shouldn't be competing with the indie. Like gaming is supposed to be in a way an escape from modern day, like the dull modern day. It's supposed like you're supposed to create an enjoyable fun experience that's somewhat challenging for the consumer, but they don't focus on that. They focus on finding every single little fucking way to milk the living shit out of the consumer.
That's true.
And
Yeah.
the most
I
recent example is like the League of Legends. Like people, the first thing they do is they install fucking spyware onto your computer. That's the most biggest egregious. Riot lost 10 million players base off of that, by the way, if you guys don't know. Um, Possibly up to 15 million. And
Wow.
the second most disgusting thing that they did was use one of the most like well-known like veteran in the esports industry and like player. Like this is one of the most decorated, like he's a legend, he's the GOAT in League of Legends, like Faker. And they decided to use his name to add a $500 skin to rip the fucking consumer off in every way possible, because their end goal is to aim for the whales. And then the worst thing about it is, so their team is currently going through some like issues within like gaming. So there's this exploit in the Riot client that directly leaks your your IP address, or like whoever's playing in that game. And what happens is they're using that exploit to DDoS uh, this player's games, right? Like just the team's games in general. T1 is getting permanently DDoSed, and as a result of that, like they can't do anything about it. And does Riot look for issues to fix that? No, they try to use his name to milk another $500 Ari skin.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I think combining both your point and Braden's is what I see these big indie company or no sorry big indie companies, the AAA's, what they try to do is combine a single player story, well told story, and develop the live service at the same time. Um, and I think it's really shooting themselves in the foot. It rarely works. It's almost one is always like lacking compared to the other. And you're just splitting your player base anyway. And you're right. Like if they just focused on telling a good story and not so much on live service, because most live service games, the rise of it's really rare that a AAA studio is putting out a good live service game at the start. Like that's not a common thing that happens. Fortnite was kind of an accident. League was kind of an accident too. Um, a lot of these games that we fucking know and love and play every day were somewhat accidents. They weren't meant to grow, or they were just some people who were fucking around. Like it wasn't the same thing. They started as indie developers themselves, and a lot of the big studios or a lot of the big single player games that we love do come from bigger studios where they have more time and effort to make the world fucking fantastic down to the smallest detail or the story great. But yeah, you're right. They're just splitting their attention between the two, and it usually makes for a fucking mess. So I agree.
Well,
Drop the live service shit. Just fucking let the indie scene drive that, and all you do is really gotta buy them up, right? Like, let's be honest, just fucking buy one up that's successful, and you're good to go. Let them develop your live service. Meanwhile, you can focus on the good shit. Um, what was that Ubisoft Sea of Thieves knockoff that they put out? The hell
yeah,
was that?
Oh, don't even get me started on the pirate game, dude. Don't even get me
Oh,
started on the
Crossroads.
pirate
well,
game.
that they had to because they were under contract with Singapore to do that, so they were forced to essentially. They really didn't want to. Well, it comes back to the point, like they like they're more focused on it's literally just the CEOs. Like the CEOs of these gaming companies use their like they're pressuring the developers in the long run. And like some of them, I mean, look at Riot, right? That they literally fired 1,000 people. They're all of these people who are experienced in like the game design and this stuff, they end up getting fired, and then they're trying to just milk the quarterlies. It's all about the quarterlies, all about the quarterlies. That's why the quality of these games are ruined, because like these guys need to be more patient. They're just looking at the short term instead of the long term. I mean, that's pretty much what most companies are doing nowadays.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Um. Well, I think that's a good stopping place. Is there anything you guys want to add before we wrap up here?
I want
Uh,
to thank our guest.
yeah, of course.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, thank you both for coming on. Been a very nice, lively discussion.
Yeah.
Covered everything. I love that we got both the politics and the gaming in. I love that a lot. Um, but yeah, I mean, gamers are united, and thankfully, most of the world is now gaming.
Yes.
So the evolution has just been psychotic, to be honest. Like it's just been completely crazy to watch and just like 10, 15 years to see such a turnaround on the idea of it and the culture behind it and the love and passion that goes into it these days is fucking crazy.
Yeah. It was very insightful. It was nice to have unique perspectives on the matter that you wouldn't normally hear.